All right, welcome to this week's weekly preparation with Built by Trading, where I go over the overall look of the market and then I go through my focus list of where I will be focusing this week to execute trades on based on my process. So let's get right to it. Firstly, macro wise, SPX, it's breaking out to all-time highs. It's still holding the breakout level of 7,600. You can just call it that. I've been saying over the past basically week and a half, that there is a potential that we could get more selling past the 21 EMA here, and then we retest the 7,600 level, 7,500 level, basically a breakout and a retest. We are now accepting underneath these recent lows. So we kind of have to watch to see if we can get back above these. So that 7,700 level is going to be important. And I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Friday was an inside day. Thursday we are below the 8. We're below the 5, but we're above the 21. So this could easily be a 21 EMA pullback. Yet there is some news that has a chance to gap us up. But if it doesn't, there's also very good information there. Next, equally weighted S&P 500, the RSP, it continues to grind, just respecting the 21 EMA really. The trend is still up, so nothing too new here. NDX still is a laggard, still choppy, down trend line, broke out of it. Now it's underneath it again. It is underneath the 5, it's underneath the 8, it's underneath 21 technically. And it is also underneath the anchored VWAP from the all-time highs. It is holding the anchored VWAP from this prior low, and it's holding the 50 EMA, and it's holding this this gap up from Tuesday, August the 4th. So this gap up has potential to hold, yet at the same time, it does have potential to fill. So note this right here, $28,832.69. That is basically the high of Monday, August 3rd. We will have a gap fill there. If that holds and we spend time underneath this, the odds of heading a little bit lower are there. This is a lower high relative to here and relative to here. We just need to see if there's going to be a lower or a higher low relative to here. Ideally, this is the area. There's a lot of confluence in this area, but if it doesn't happen, then guess what? It doesn't happen. We have a lot of people talking about the 10-year treasury notes, yields, bonds, etc. They're hitting up here, looking like they're heading towards these highs here. Then a lot of people are also talking about the 30-year, which is kind of spooking the market. And so 30 years, 10 years, they continue to creep up. Other things to take note of, the SMH. I was saying back here, it looked great. It was getting tight. It broke out. Now it's pulling back, retesting that downtrend line. If you care about that stuff, it is holding this gap up from, again, Tuesday, August 4th. The lows of the gap is $549. That is the high of Monday, the 3rd. I lied. It's 48.49. Let me just adjust that live here. And we'll see if that holds, basically. And that, I don't know, it's got a bit. It's holding the anchor VWAP from the low. It's below the EMAs though, so it's not the best look. SOXX, similar idea here, holding the anchor VWAP from these lows, but what is it under? It's under the 5, 8, 21, and the 50. So might be better places to be. If you follow me on X, every night I post my prep for the day, for the next day. And I've been saying there are two semis and chips that are memory that are sticking out. It's Micron and MU and MRVL. Otherwise, everything else looks like this sector here, SOXX and then SMH. They don't look good. IGV looks great. Software continues to roll. I have some names in there for you. And then XBI, we had pretty big news from Moderna this week about the potential cure for cancer, melanoma, via a vaccine. So that was pretty interesting. But either way, healthcare, biotech, etc., it continues to move. We can look at XLV real quick. Continues to be the place to be. So, you know, if you look at healthcare names, that's that. All right, let's go to my focus list for the week. Palantir, I entered this past week. Excuse me, I entered on Thursday. I caught the nice move on Friday. If we look at the weekly here, it's pretty extended on the weekly. It kind of had a resting week last week, and then last 2 weeks, I'd say. And then on Friday, it looked like it wanted to start moving. It's right underneath this prior resistance, prior supply area. Otherwise, I think we might be at the 187. We do have a pivot on gap here from 1226, starting at $189.97. So PLTR looks pretty good for continuation. I do like it. This is my main thesis for the week. So NVIDIA, the big news, 15% AI server price hikes, and why it would benefit the memory stocks. Okay, so here is why price hikes would improve or is bullish for NVIDIA and the memory stocks. So number one, we have the explosive AI demand, right? The hyperscalers, they're paying out for memory and GPUs and TPUs and all this stuff, and the build out for data centers. Their capex is huge, right? So we have surging orders in NVIDIA systems. Most of these companies are just integrating into the NVIDIA system, and then we have massive demand for memory and storage. So high bandwidth memory, which is mainly in the form of Micron, Sand Hynix, and there was a third one, not Intel. There's a third one that I can't think of right now. And then also NAND and HDDs. So that's where WDC, STX, and SanDisk come in. So there's a massive demand for memory and storage, which we know, at least right now, the memory bottleneck is the bottleneck for AI. And so memory, the supply stays tight. So what this is saying is that it's not a bubble. Like this, the demand for this stuff is real and the capacity cannot keep up. So the costs for NVIDIA are going higher. So memory is a major portion of the AI server build out and bill of materials, basically. So NVIDIA's costs jump. NVIDIA raises prices 15%, notifies major customers of price hikes start in early 2027, and then which is basically positive for memory stocks, right? So it confirms the strong pricing power and the durable shortage of these, and for these names, Micron, SanDisk, WDC, and Seagate. So continuing on, who's going to benefit from this? Beneficiaries. This is my focus for the week. This is why I'm going over this. Firstly, we have NVIDIA. Okay. It basically just goes strong on margins, right? Then we have the memory makers, and then we have the storage makers. So Micron, Samsung, there we go. That was the third one. Western Digital, Seagate, and SanDisk. All of these guys over here, they're going to benefit from it. Now, who's paying these guys? Who's going to end up paying this increase, this 15% increase? It's these guys over here. So my thesis for this week, we'll see if it actually plays out. I'm not calling anything. This is just where I'm thinking. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, Oracle, all the CapEx AI the build out guys, right? They're going to have to pay a higher premium if they want this stuff. The neoclouds, also GPU clouds, CoreWeave, NBIS, Iron, all of these guys, those main three, they're going to have to be paying for it. And then other AI customers, right? So I think money has a potential to flow out of here and flow into there. So therefore, price over here in stocks will go up, could go up, not will, could potential go up. And then the cost bears might potentially go down. So I think this is going to be short-term stuff, guys. Again, reminder, this is short-term stuff. I'm talking about AI build is a very real thing. And I'm not changing any of it. So here's overall what I'm looking at for the week. These are most of the names that all of these names are in my world, my trading universe. So up here, long bias, Micron, WDC, NVDA, all these guys. I'll go over the charts here shortly. And then my short bias for the week are these guys right here. So we'll see how it actually plays out. But this is how it's where my mind's at going in. Now, at the same time, if we gap up or even gap down on news that what should happen, what happens when, what's that saying? When something should happen, but it doesn't, it's inflammation, right? It's something along those lines. So let's get back to the charts. NVIDIA, right here, interesting level, back to it. It's holding the gap. It's working on the gap fill, $213.33. That's a gap fill. It found supply at this prior supply area, and we'll see if it holds at 21 EMA, and we will see where and if this gaps up. If it gaps up, I would look for a gap and go. If not, it's got to hold. Micron, I still like Micron. It has a reverse head and shoulder look to me. It's holding the anchor VWAP from the highs. It's also the anchor VWAP from the earnings. It's done nothing but sell off since the earnings. Now it's chopping sideways. Looks like it's basing above all the EMAs, etc. It looks good overall. I am going to continue to watch it for this week. NOW, look at here, weekly. This is what I really like. Multi-week base, right? It struggled at the 200 EMA here, sold all the way up. It has been chopping around phase one consolidation. Now it looks like it could potentially be starting a phase two. It's holding above the 200 EMA now on a nice price bar here. And it's holding up. It's holding above this important $125 level, let's call it. It's above the short-term and now the long-term EMA. So it looks like it actually might turn around. We'll see what happens. ADBE looks interesting. Not my favorite overall. I just moved that potential longs, favorite longs, going over first, but why it has this 285 level. The risk reward just isn't there. It's also at the 200 EMA, but this looks like it could potentially be turning around. SNOW, I do like SNOW, Snowflake. Breakout, nice run. And what's it do? It bear flag. It bull flags to the 21 EMA. And then we have a push out on Friday on probably some nice volume, 3.44, and nothing crazy volume wise. But bull flag to the 21 EMA, tags it, goes red to green, looks solid for potential continuation. That is going to go on top of my list for an actionable look, basically very soon. Again, right here, look on the weekly. Okay, on the weekly, big base, downtrend line, breaks it, higher lows. Let me draw it for you so you can see. Higher lows, even has a secondary higher low right there, breaks it, comes back, retests, and now we'll see what actually happens. But undercut Thursday lows, went from red to green. It's above the 21 EMA. This looks okay. This looks like it's actionable. I like Snow better though. CRM also coming, looks interesting. Holding above this $206, $205 level. Traded through that pivot on gap. I can take that off, which is great. Above the 200, above the short term. So this is another like software that it looks like it has potential to actually turn around. We shall see. It's still at a sticky point, but we shall see if it proves itself. WDC, it doesn't look good. Okay, I only like these names because of my thesis for this week on NVIDIA's 15% price hikes. Okay, if that doesn't play out, I don't like this look. And so that thesis is heavily relied on the news, and we'll see how things actually open up. But this doesn't look good. If I didn't have that news, I'd be zero interest in this. Zero. Same thing with STX. It's chopping around. It's not doing anything. It tried to break out. It's kind of back into the midpoint of this range. It's important to see if this area holds to set a higher low relative to this, and then we potentially have some higher lows forming and it gets tight and it breaks out. Otherwise, there's also potential that this is a from failed moves comes fast moves. It fails to break out of this level and then it trades quickly to the opposite end range. So I don't know. Again, I'm not here to predict. I'm here to prepare. And the only reason why I like this right now, I'd be okay with it, but I like the news. LNG area, support area, what I say last week, it was getting up tight underneath this $275, broke out and held it. As long as it continues to grind higher, it looks good. I think if it pulls back, pullbacks are viable. FCX, copper, one of my favorite looks for the week. Look at this right here. It's been consolidating all year, basically from, if you want to extend this to where it kind of like started to base, beginning of this year, 2026, huge multi-month consolidation, breaking out on a gap. It held the gap. If you look in intraday, it didn't even break the daily lows, right? The first 30-minute lows. So this is a strong look. I would be mindful of that gap, pay attention to the gap to see if it holds and if this wants to continue. You didn't miss the move. This is a huge consolidation. We can look for a gap and go. We can look for continuation here. Eventually, I would expect it to time correct or maybe even pull back and retest, like a breakout retest. There's a lot of things that can happen here. But the important thing is this place, I think it is in play. So just pay attention there. ALB looks like it's trying to turn back around. Got real tight here underneath the 50, popped above. It's at the 200. It's not my favorite look, but I think it's actionable. MP, potentially actionable. MP materials. So this is with the gold, silver material play. This has FCX had gold and copper to it. I think this is just general minerals or materials overall. It's coming up to a prior supply area, so just be mindful of that. But it already tagged it, and now it's coming to tag it again. So we'll see if it breaks out. Overall, this thing moves 9% on Friday. It's a very volatile name. It can be a little gappy, but it can move too. So it looks pretty decent. GLD, it just continues to be very strong after breaking that down trend line here. Time corrected the short-term EMA and just ran last week. Same thing with SLV. It broke this prior supply area and is now holding above it. We shall see if it continues to hold above it. Also traded through that pivot on gap, so I can take that away. I think this will do. All right. So that looks decent. Other potential longs for the week. SpaceX right here. I like this potential higher low relative to this low here. This is an obvious area. What I would like more is if this obvious $130 was undercut and then a reclaimed, shake out all these quote unquote weak hands. I don't like obvious shelves like this, especially the risk against. Everyone can see this, right? So if you put your stop here, what are the chances of you getting stopped out? Probably, pretty high. So that's why I like the undercut, shake everybody out, and then the reclaim of the level there. It's still struggling at the anchor fee weapon all-time high and the IPO, but this looks decent to turn around this week. We shall see. CCJ, nice push on Friday after having a little double bottom here, broke the 92 resistance area. I think you can call it a double bottom now. The only thing is it's coming into the potential supply area. So as long as it can break above and then hold above that area, I think it's pretty interesting. That area as in 102. MRVL, looking at, this is a bearish engulfing candle, but this thing is super choppy anyways. We shall see. We do have earnings here on Thursday. Be mindful of that. And then NVIDIA earnings is on Wednesday. You have to be mindful of that too. Would not recommend holding names stocked short if you're trading short term. If you're long term, whatever. But short-term stuff into over earnings, you can get crushed. CrowdStrike, pretty steep pullback back into this range. We'll see if it sets a higher low. This name does have a characteristic of steep pullbacks, chop, and then creates a higher high. Steep pullback undercuts this low, and then what's it do? Makes a higher high. So it has this characteristic of steep pullbacks and then ripping. So it might be okay. It's at the earnings anchored web. This also has earnings Wednesday night, so be mindful. I think the entire cybersecurity space looks okay, and it has a chance to move this week. Like Palo Alto, it needs to get back outside of the range here. It's underneath 21, underneath the 5 and the 8. It has a little bit of work to do, but overall, I think the characteristics of these cybersecurity names, they typically have steep pullbacks followed by very steep rips. So maybe they can be a little bit harder. FTNT support play here at the 50. Looks decent. DELL, this is hard. I mean, this is an obvious level here that continues to be challenging for the stock. And so, I don't know if this is going to be a breakout, a failure breakout. We end up trading to the lows of the range again to 360 or so. We'll see. HPE, it could be a cup. Draw a base for you here. Could be a cup right there with a potential handle right there. Okay, cup and handle look. Otherwise, right there, cup and handle. Maybe it breaks out, tags that, higher low, boom, and then goes. or this could be a double top. We don't know until hindsight, right? But overall, it looks pretty good. If this moves with the news, and this might just be a nice large cup and handle, and HPE could be in play for a little bit longer. ONDS, interesting. I said I would like an undercut and reclaim of this 850 level that has, I specifically wanted it in one day to risk against. Now we have an inside day of Friday. It is above that 850 level. I'm going to need a little bit more proof. If we can break if we can break Fridays or Thursdays highs, then I think, we can go to basically $10, and then potentially create higher lows and tag the opposite end range. We'd have to accept back into here first. And it looks like we might want to do that, but it still needs some proof. Hood was challenging last week. Thursday night, I posted, hey, I did not like the gap up and sell off. And then Friday morning, it freaking ripped nearly 14%. It's coming into its prior supply area. I think it's in play. The volatility is there. It is creating higher lows relative to here, I suppose. But as of right now, excuse me, it's still it created a higher low here. It looks like it's trying to turn around. It's challenging though. This one's not the easiest. It's not the cleanest right now. But I do think it's tradable. MSTR coin. These two ripped 30%. If you watched my FinX video, basically I'm saying don't chase these things, right? We do have a character change here off these lows. Super tight action, pushed higher. We found supply at this prior supply in coin. Near the 200 EMA is still coming down. MSTR, 200 EMA still coming down. Super tight. I've been saying I've been looking for short in here. Pretty simple. It's just below the 5, 8, 21, and 50. All that stuff is going down. It was holding below these lows, and now it's not. So we'll see what actually happens. This could just be, you get some short covering because it's failing to go lower. Then we find some supply, all of this stuff up here. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's a nice start to actually have a character change and potentially change. But I would not go change some 30% moves in 3 days. Not a chance. XOM. I was reading that a lot more oil was moving through the Strait of Hormuz just on Friday night. We'll see how true this stuff is. But if that is true, oil, XOM, things like that, CVX, they're short term. I mean, they're strong. This just might add a catalyst for a little bit of a pullback. They need a pullback anyways. On pullbacks, I'm still looking for longs. VLO, it would be bullish for that because oil would be cheaper, basically, for the crack spreads. So this is just a very strong name. Time corrected basically last week to the short-term EMAs. I'm watching for a break of Friday's highs. I'm going to do that. And then we'll see where it goes from there. Same thing with MPC, very strong. I wouldn't mind a little bit steeper of a pullback, and maybe, if we could do this, I would not mind a pullback to, 340 or so. And then maybe I'll look for a pullback to 330 on VLO. Otherwise, I like VLO more than MPC. It's a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit tighter, but we'll see. So favorite shorts, again, Microsoft. It looks good, but the news changes that, right? Meta, this does not look good. We'll see if it gaps down to the prior support area and then gets bought up, or if it breaks even lower. If it breaks lower, I have 580 next. Google, this looks good. We'll see what the news brings, right? It looks like it's trying to turn around. It is spending time underneath the earnings anchor VWAP, which is prior low, is off the 200. Maybe this goes for the 200 again at 324. Who knows? But this is a huge rip and it just sells off. Do you think MSTR coin can't do this? Just like Meta did multiple times? Look at all this, right? Microsoft, where did it go here? Ripped, tried to break out, sold off. I think Oracle did this too, right? This is what I'm talking about. Huge rips and then they sell off. I think Now did it as well. Huge rips and then they sell off. So don't just, it's exciting, you Bitcoin lovers out there, that it has potential to show some life now, but it still has to prove itself. Apple, simply because of news. CoreWeave, I don't like the shorts down here now. because they're sold off. They're from the high from Thursday, August 13th to the lows. It's down 25% in 6 days. So what I would actually look for is a gap down to see if it gets bought up. Gap down, wait for 15 minutes. You can kind of treat it like the gap down rule and then see if it wants to get bought up. Same thing for NBIS from high here about to low. It was down 24% in 3-4 trading days. And so it's not, I don't know, if you get a gap down, I was going like it. Same thing with iron. This one's struggling. It looked, I was saying, it looked like it was showing some relative strength on Thursday. I said that it gapped up, hit the anchor VWAP right here from this prior high. Actually, it's from right there. The breakout, and it means nothing. I'm going to delete these. That's a little sloppy. Sorry. But overall, like this name is, they're hard. They're sloppy and they're hard. It's holding an anchor VWAP from this low. That's all I really got for you. Otherwise, if you want to go from this prior high, it's still struggling at that, right? This is the all-time high anchor VWAP here, right there. So still struggling at that. Still underneath the 50. It's hard. Of course, same neocloud stuff, right? Short. They just look weak. And with this news, I think it has potential to be even weaker. NRG, here's another potential short for you guys. It is down. Ideally, you would have gotten short on Wednesday, so you can catch a 4 and then a 2.2% move down. This can move 15% down in one day here on Tuesday. So if it continues to break these lows, where could it go? Where could it go? Here's a price bar right here. We have a gap fill going to 109. We got a gap fill going to 98. So I would go, what I look for. I look for these areas here. Right? I would just look for those areas first. That 109s first. Okay. All right. Good. That's a plan. Again, here you go. This is my how I'm thinking moving into the week. Now, what should happen doesn't. That's what I'm looking for. That is also information. So if I am wrong, it is information for us. But otherwise, this is how I'm prepped. Hopefully it's helpful. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, go watch my trade review videos, watch my FinX videos, follow me on X. I post every night, plans for the following day. And yeah, thanks for your time. I'll catch you next week.